Hello and welcome to another Talking Tour episode. Today I'm your host Teddy, and today I'm being joined once again by...
Hayden.
And today we're going to be talking about the tmnt 2003 Season 1, Episode 1, Things Change. So, what do you think about this episode briefly?
Well, this episode is very different to what I've been watching as of recently. Like from last series that we've come from, it is very different, and there was a lot to take in this episode. There was a lot to take in, but it was an all right episode to start the series off. It got better towards the end, but it was an all right episode.
I'll just say that for me, because I've seen this episode so many times, it's so hard for me to judge this episode and be like, oh yeah, I like this bit because of this. It just becomes so natural to me for this episode. So I'm really interested in hear all as you go in depth about some of the scenes. Really interested to hear some of your thoughts about them. Okay, so I feel like we should first start off with the so uh talking about contrast between the two shows. So what do you think about going from a 3D to 2D for animation?
Um, I'm not gonna lie, it was very weird at first because I'm so used to the 3D animation, and the 2D was pretty weird, but it was alright. Like change is sometimes nice, and it was really good seeing the different changes and seeing the different styles as well, and seeing the different art styles from producer to producer, and seeing how different people interpreted the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle genre, and it was really quite cool to see and how they drew the environments because it's 2D, so they must have drawn it or animated it in a way to look like the comics, which was also quite an interesting thing that I saw as well. Just seeing how they try and relate it back to like a comic strip or a comic book or something along those lines, which is really quite cool to see.
Mm. I'll just say that with the 2D, I feel as though they was able to be a bit more expressive and be able to do a lot more things with the show already than with 2012 show. I mean, if you look at the Pearl Dragons, they have already a big lineup, and most of them you don't. I think most of them just become like background characters after this. Whereas 2012 one, they only had three, and they were used quite a few times. So it's quite a big difference.
Mm.
Also, what do you think of the change with the turtles, and also like Must as well? Because looking at the 2012 version, they're going into this version. Was it like a big difference for you, or was it just a bit slight change, or what?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, the voices were a big shock to me because they're different people behind those characters, and I'm not gonna lie, I am a huge fan of Raph's voice. His voice, his Boston, New Yorker voice is priceless. I just love it and how he's like, it's in New York, it's set in New York, and he's got the New York accent. It just suits him for some odd reason in this. I don't understand why, but it suits him. Leonardo's voice, it suits him. Michelangelo suits him. Donnie suits him. However, I have got a few not huge issues with it, but Master Splinter's voice. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a cool character. Loves Master Splinter for who he is, but the voice acting, I don't think it was as best as it could have been. I know this is just the first episode, and I don't want to like rip it apart and do whatever to it, but this is just the first episode that we're looking at, that I'm looking at from first person view, and just watching it for the first time. But I wasn't a huge fan of Master Splinter's voice. That's my one pick out of this whole episode.
I don't think I thought Hoonley does catch like Master Splinter much better in terms of his wisdom and talking about his speeches and stuff like that. I feel like Hoonley does a really good job of catching the character, but I do think that the person who plays him in this version, I think he does a very good job of capturing like a Splinter type character. I don't think he has that. Oh my god, that voice! It makes any speech works and all that. So I feel that maybe where uh, like um like I know, like night and day type situation. Okay, so going into the
Mm.
episode, I want to talk about this for the first time, and then maybe like a few other instances where we may talk about this. But the opening with like a little voiceover thing before going to the theme song. What do you think of that?
Mm, I'm not gonna lie, it was very different because watching the 2012 rap theme tune, which was
Oh, no, I was talking
for the
about the.
times.
No, I was talking about the opening with like where it goes. Leonardo saying, "Oh, his name's Leonardo." They found themselves.
Oh yes, so sorry. Yeah, my bad. I'm skipping ahead. Right. That scene was actually pretty cool because we were actually introduced to a lot of new things about it, like the purple dragons, for instance. Those, I'm not gonna lie, those characters are very, very, very good design. Like the intricate coats, the fabrics, even the dragon symbols on their arms that are present, the hair, like you were saying before, like they were there's only three characters in the 2012 version that are used throughout the series, but in this one, we're getting a whole new bunch of characters, like different weapons, different sizes, different genres, different personalities, and that's the one thing that they've got right going in this series because it's showing the individual characters of how they're going to play out in the show, which is I know it's just the first episode, but that's where I can see it coming from at the moment. Like it's it's something that's going to develop really good, I believe, in this series. So I'm hoping for that.
Okay. Well, I would say that with the opening scene, I do think that is a really unique thing because like no other show which I've watched has something like this, and I do think they just make the show stand out quite a bit for that. The one downside to that is that sometimes it does like spoil some little bits that are going to happen later on in the episode. Just like I mean, even with this the first one with Leonardo saying that like they found themselves trouble against Backwall and all that with like the Pearl Dragons. That would have been I don't know because I watched the episode so many times and all that. I thought also maybe if I was to watch the episode now, I'll be like, oh god, I would prefer to have that big revealed. Oh, the tells of fight Pearl Dragons later, and not have that shown then. But I
Hmm.
don't know. I mean, again, because I've seen the episode so many times, I it's hard for me to go. Oh yeah, my feeling towards this is this because I think that's gonna make a little bit more sense. Um. Okay, so what do you think about the theme song?
The theme song, it wasn't too bad, but of course, this is just the first episode. It could develop, but the theme song, it was very different because like, I was thinking that the theme song for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle genre would be the same throughout the years, but from watching the first episode of this series, is it's completely different. And it was alright because I was thinking, oh, it's going to be the classic, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, but no, it's a complete different spin-off to what I was going to originally believe what the theme tune was going to be. And just seeing that, I did enjoy it. However, I think it could have been a bit portrayed a bit better. What was the line? It was I can't remember, but a part of it was where it goes. Yeah, I'm not too sure to be honest. I'm trying to remember the different lines, but it was a decent one, and it probably wasn't the better one. I prefer the 2012 version over this one, but like I said, this is the first episode, and I can't tear it open because this is just the first episode. But it was an alright introduction.
You have to say that for the theme song. I mean, again, like I can't exactly say too much because I've heard it so many times. I think like the theme song is pretty good. I would say that it is better than the 2000 than that 2012 one. As for me, like it's a lot more memorable and more single parts from the thing. I mean, just like I've been told that little bit there. Um, but I don't think this is the best version of this song. There is like another version of it, but it does do a better job of it. Okay, so going into the actual episode, first off with details training with Master Splinter. What do you think about that little scene?
I'm not gonna lie, it was certainly different, and it was actually quite interesting to see with the animations and how they went about it. Particularly when Leo comes from the darkness and impressively cuts the candle and lands it on his blade and takes it out, and it was actually really really cool to see. And I was actually wondering, it's like, how did the animators do all of that on a 2D basis? Like, that must have taken them so many attempts, so many drawings, so many sketches just to get the right movements of Leo's backflip and his swords to just perfectly align themselves to cut the candle. Like, I was pretty impressed. Like, for a 2003, it was very impressive. It was very impressive on how they conducted that scene, and I just found it really interesting in how they got the 2D design onto the screen, and how fluid the movements are. Like, I'm gonna bring this up quite a lot in this episode, but the fluids, the not fluids, the movements, I mean, are quite fluid, and I love that because it's smooth. And to be honest, I thought the movements were going to be a bit jagged because it's 2D, it's like supposed to be comic, but nah, they actually got it just right.
Yeah.
And it was really, really strange, but it was so cool to see as well. Like, they took this idea, they made it, and it works, and it really does work, and it was so surprising for me.
Mm. Oh yeah, but also like surprisingly, this was just before the time when they were using the computers to actually draw the episodes. I'm pretty sure about that. Um, so I think for the majority of the like the first 5 seasons are drawn by hand, which is again that's like really impressive.
Wow,
Um,
really?
yeah, I think I'm not exactly too sure, and yeah, I do think that for the opening, I do think that it does show like foreshadow some stuff with, such as like Raph. Musman says that he goes, "Oh yeah, poor choice, Raphael." And then later in the episode, Mikey says that to Raph when he tries to get into the van. So I do think there's like a little setup for some characters, but at the same time. I don't know. I enjoy that it's a training session because you don't really get to see too many of those. Um,
Hmm.
and I do think it does show off like the characters in somewhat of a good. I'll say it shows Leo off in a good way. All the other characters, it just shows them off in like the same sort of way where Mikey, Don, and Raph, they all sort of failed. Um, but yeah, okay. So then we do have the first proper fight of the season, the Toads versus the Mouses. What did you think of that scene?
I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty shocked to see the Mousers come so early in this series. Like, back in the 2012 version, like, the Mousers came in when Baxter Stockman was around. He was the inventor and creator of the Mousers, as we all know. But I was really, really surprised to see the Mousers so early in this series. Like, it was really weird. It's like, why is the ground shaking? And boom, here comes the Mousers. Like, hold on a minute, where's Baxter Stockman? Unless Baxter Stockman isn't in this series or there's a new character. I was really, really perplexed on why the Mousers was so early on in this episode, but it made for an alright fighting scene, to be honest with you. Like, it was alright, but the problem was, there wasn't a problem. I just found it a bit weird, and like how they introduced it so quickly. Like, there was no build up, there was no tension. It's like, boom, you're right in the action. Like, the turtles are at it again. Like, you're right in the action. And for me, I like a series that develops the characters and develops the villains. But for this series, for this episode, it just throws you right into the action, throws you right in there. Like, there's danger. The turtles are at it again. Like, they've already got the whole development lined up. There's no development of said characters becoming independent and emotional. There's none of that. But it somehow works for this and doesn't, if you understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah, again, I do understand where you're coming from, and I will say this: the story and the characters development that I do take all the characters on is really good. I just think that they chose all the characters which don't like for Pearl Dragons, Mouses, which don't have any character development, and to most you don't really care about those characters. and I think that's the reason why I put them all in there for this episode, just show, oh, the turtles can do this, this, and this. We're gonna action, we're gonna this, and this. But I feel like they may have thrown a bit too much in there without any answers, and I do
Yeah.
think that because one of the best things about this show is that they like to make the turtles feel so they're part of the universe, so like making them part like halfway through like someone else's story, which no may sound bad, but it does make the story a bit more interesting. And but I do think that maybe they did a bit too much with like, oh, at the halfway through the Pearl Dragon stuff, the like foot all put in there, and then the mouses that I thought as though they may, I don't know, added a bit too much in for one episode. Um, but yeah, I will say that the whole for the first fight scene with the mouses, I do think that's like a really good way of just showing off all the characters and like their fighting skills, how they take on, how they approach the villains, stuff like that. I thought was really good, and yeah. Um, Now don't talk about Boomer Splinter with the phone.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't a fan of that particular scene. It's like, hold on a minute, Splinter. Because I was thinking, oh, this is like, why is Splinter not using the T phone properly? And then I realised it's a complete different series that we're on now. And it was just the transitioning of this new series that we're watching now. But overall, I kinda understood it and I kinda laughed at it, but it was a bit weird for Master Splinter not to know how the T phone works. Um, Another thing as well with that scene, I wasn't expecting the T phone to be used so early on in the series. Like, they've already got the technology. Donnie's already made it, and that's the one thing that I'm a bit disappointed about in how it's already been there. There's no thinking and thought process behind it, like in the previous series that I've just watched. Like, there was a process. Donnie made it because we couldn't communicate over long distances, and now they can. But for this one, they just made it right there on the spot, like just there. There's no development, no nothing, which is a real, which I found very disappointing because I like the series to develop and show their progression as characters and how they use different technology that they've found and that they've created over time. But yeah, I can't really diss it that much as this is the first episode, but we'll see what's to come.
I've actually never really thought about it that way with like T-phone thing because I've always, I mean, again, just because again I've seen this episode so many times, it's just sort of like natural to think about this, but I don't know really because I thought like with the phones and all that. To me, it never really I never really cared too much. Like 2012 stuff, they made a somewhat a little bit big deal about it, but like here with this version of Donny, he's more. Oh yeah, I'll go to the junkyard and actually get like bits from a car and stuff like that, and actually wield it all together. And so I don't think they really need like focus too much on that. I mean, like they do focus on like more other stuff with Donny. Like later in, I mean, in even in the next episode, you see him more like playing with more of the mechanical stuff, and then like a few other episodes, you see him build more inventions and stuff like that. So I feel so like one little phone isn't like too big of a deal compared to like the other stuff which he does build. Um, so yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so I kind of want to talk about the Splinter stuff first because there's not really too much to talk about with him. Uh, what do you think about those scenes with him in in the tunnel? Find the mouse and finding there.
To be honest, with the Mousers, I do not really know what to say because one, how did the Mousers find Master Splinter? Two, how did Master Splinter survive the fall? And three, how was he just still moving after that? It's a bit weird for me. Like, the Mousers found him. Okay, they found him. I don't know how, but Master Splinter fought them off pretty good. Like, he used his abilities to sense, and he used his weapon to fight them off. But to be honest, it wasn't as impressive as I would like it to be. I know this is just the first episode, and I know there's going to be more fight scenes down the line, but it was actually quite nice to see for a change that Master Splinter was actually being used as a character that's fighting all the time, which was really nice to see because back in the 2012 version, we didn't see much of Master Splinter fight, except when he was fighting the Rat King, the Ninja Turtles themselves, and of course fighting in the last episode with Master Shredder. But yeah, it was really nice to see that like early on in the series, which is really really nice.
Okay, so with the whole thing that I, I, I know, it's hard to say because like the first 9 episodes, they have like good stories. It's just that they have like a weird pacing thing where you want it to go on and do be more exciting, but they hold it back. You all see this in like next in the kind of episodes, and like there are good stories and good episodes. It's just that something about them hold them back. But then once you get to episode 10, that's when the show kicks in and actually becomes like really good. Um,
Hmm.
well, like with the Moss Splinter stuff, I feel like it was again. I do think it was like a really good idea having Moss Splinter be doing something because it just gave his like character something to do instead of just being there for the sake of it. Um, and then find a new lair. Um, yeah, that's cool, I guess. And then um, the one question which I have is how did Moss Splinter actually get back up the tunnel? Because that's quite a job.
Oh yeah, he fell, didn't that? Yeah, he fell. That's what I was saying. How did he survive that fall? I know he's a rat and all that, and they probably have some special ability to survive. But I'm not gonna lie, that looked like a pretty deep hole to fall down and survive miraculously. So
Yeah.
yeah,
um.
unrealistic.
Oh no, not again. Okay, so yeah. After that, we got Raph. Who tries to move the Pole Dragon van, but then he has to go into the van because he's gonna get caught, and the Pole Dragons drive away, and Battles chase down the van and cross the rooftops. What do you think about that scene?
That was actually pretty cool. I liked that. I liked seeing the turtles, how they managed to get across the rooftops, and how they made it into a little games. Like last one, there's a rotten egg or something along those lines, but in a turtle version, which I can't remember to save the life of me. But yeah, it was really cool to see. And of course, I say this again, the animators done such a good job on how they moved. Like the amount of time that they must have taken to get the movements just right on paper alone is just a monumental feat in itself. Like I was just impressed on how much detail and how much thought, passion you in every shot of that scene and beyond was just. It was really nice to see some passion into this series, which is really really good to see.
Hmm. I'll just say, but I did really did enjoy the scene. I mean, again, like I've seen it so many times. How do I describe it? Um, I mean, because I know that because this is the one thing which I'm really looking forward about talking about this show is that you can actually have feelings and thoughts about these early episodes. Um, just because I feel as though I should be given something, but I just can't. The only thing which I can say is that Leo plan is to go up on the rooftops and cut them off, but the only thing is that they don't know where they're going. So I don't know how they're going to cut them off. Um, and yeah. Um. Oh, also, the phrase Mikey used when he gets hit with the clothes goes "springtime fresh." Have you heard that before? Because it feels as though it should. I've heard it, or uh, like a phrase that we should be using, but at the same time, it's one that you don't hear anyone talk about. So, have you heard that one before?
Springtime fresh. Why does that rhyme? Springtime. To be honest, I thought it was a little thing for a commercial sort of thing. Like maybe springtime fresh was like a commercial, like a little commercial thing that they use in movies and TV shows. Like for instance, you may get like the drink that the hero is drinking is Pepsi, or the villain may be drinking a beer brand or something like that. That's what I was going along the lines of.
Hmm. Um. Okay. Okay. So next scene we do have Ruff gets out the van, and that's when the Pearl Dragons come, and have their first fight. What do you think about that scene? Where they're doing all the montage and stuff.
I'm not gonna lie, it was actually pretty cool to see. Like, I liked how the what was it? The the purple dragons, like, we're going back to the individuality and the personalities of the characters, which was really cool to see. Like, of course, the main leader who has the blue hair, the puffed up jacket with the dragon on it, and his weapon of choice was really nice to see that they put a lot of thought into all each different characters, even though they're background characters. They were really, really awesome to see, like how they fight, how their moves are, and sure, they ultimately fail, but it was really nice to see. And of course, the movements as well was just awesome. Just seeing the purple dragons and the turtles go up against one another, 1v1, was just really cool to see. But the real fight scene that I enjoy that out of it comes later, but I'll hold myself till then. But what did you think of this?
um, this has always been the part episode which is always or one the parts that have always really annoyed me about it. It's just because you got like a really cool setup with the pole dragons there. Like this is the first time Toad's gonna fight any humans. This is a big deal for them. And what do? They start to do a montage where they get out their weapons, do some kicks, only for them to jump in the air, and then we cut to the pole dragons just being thrown onto the floor. It was just so disappointing. Um,
Hmm.
so I mean, and nothing which I would like to bring up is that, like, with the comic, which sort of ties into the show, and it's hard to say if it is like canon in with the show or not. Uh, it's so weird, but when you look at the comic, they actually do show the first battle, and it is actually really cool. Shame they didn't show it here. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so what do you think about the Toes versus the Foot fight?
Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna lie. This is probably one of the highlights for this episode. I thoroughly enjoyed watching this scene. Like the foot, like this episode, like I said, was a crazy episode just to like take in because we're introducing everything so quickly. Like we're seeing the outside world for the first time. We're seeing the purple dragons for the first time, and now we're seeing the Foot Clan for the first time. It was it was awesome, and I'm not gonna lie, they kind of made up for this one. Like I would have liked to see the purple dragons fight, but the Foot Clan made up for it. Just seeing the Foot Clan in their true form, and of course the Foot Clan in this series, I feel like they're going to be a better foot than the 2012 series on how they can actually fight back against the turtles. Like they know the moves, they've been trained, they've been taught, and they were just portrayed so much better in a greater light than the 2012 series. And I thoroughly believe that this version of the Foot Clan is a much greater threat than the 2012 version, which I just absolutely adore because they were using techniques, and of course the turtles were getting their shells kicked all over the place, and of course just their characters are the design for the characters in the foot were really good. Like I said before, they spent so much time and passion into each individual character. Even if they're reusing some characters, they are using it to a good form, and they're using it constantly, and they're getting it just right. And I don't want to brag on for too long, but this scene was overall one of the best scenes for this episode that I've seen by far. This was my highlight for this episode.
For me, okay. I want to start off with the fact that you're gonna not like. Chris Bradford is not in this version, so.
Worst series ever. Right, we're shutting it down.
Oh my god. But yeah, for me, I really do enjoy this fight scene. There's so many fun parts about it. It's like seeing how each toe is different, unique. How Leo is better than all the other ones, taking on like a bunch of them. So many great scenes from this whole thing, but I do think that it does feel very forced into it, and Also, not to mention that I do feel as though that they just I don't know, they just come out of nowhere. When you look at again, if you look at the comic, it's revealed that basically the Pearl Dragons are working for the foot soldiers, and they're having a meetup, and this is why they were there. But they don't explain why they were there in the show, and they never do. So it does feel really weird, but at the same time, I just love it. The costumes, it going more ninja more like what you expect for like an actual ninja. I know that 2012 one just is like a ninja, but when I think of like foot soldiers, this is them. Um,
Mm,
I do think the biggest problem with this fight scene is that it would no matter how cool the foot soldiers are, and they are quite a big threat. It's a shame that after this episode they lose like that toughness, and they become just like the like an average type villain. I know like because you've seen them in like 2012 where like they're like really easy to take down. So and like after
mm.
this episode, they sort of become like quite easy to take down. So that's like a another disappointing thing for this bit, but other than that, I did enjoy this.
Mm.
Okay, so then after that, the Vitals meet up with my Splinter, and they go to the new lair. What do you think about that scene, and what do you think of the new lair?
I'm not gonna lie, it looks like Hiroshima went off in it. Like it looks absolutely drab. There's literally it looks like a it it's destroyed. It's completely destroyed. However, this is a very interesting thing for me in this episode in this episode because they've actually moved from their original base, which got destroyed, and now they found a new base, which it's all right, but to be honest, I'm hoping to see the development of that said base because I would like to see the turtles create their own personalities from it, their own rooms from it, and just seeing the base develop, which is a really nice thing. And I'm hoping we get to see that development throughout the series to come.
You sort of do. You don't really. We don't really get to see too much of the Turtles like in their like bedrooms or anything, but we do see that the lair does go some changes. Like I mean, they had like furniture in and all that, but like there's nothing really anything too major. But there's some stuff there. What do you think about the
Hmm.
final scene with the purple dragon talking um to the man?
To the man, yeah.
Do you know who the man is?
First off, yes, I immediately knew who he was,
Good.
despite the fact I was really shocked that I know this is a different version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series, but he's not burnt. He's not got third degree burns. He's an actual normal human being. The Shredder is normal, and I found that a bit uneery. Like, what's happened to him? Like, is it about like he's not burnt. He's not nothing. He's no destroyed. He's not wearing his armor, which I was a bit disappointed. But I'm hoping to see the armor very soon in this series. But yeah, it was actually really cool to see him, and his voice was actually really good, and I actually enjoyed watching that scene because it shows his true intentions. Like just from that one scene alone, his voice just says it all. Like he's the bad guy. He's the one calling the shots. You don't want to mess with him. That's all I gotta say. But he is, and of course, taking out the purple dragon leader. That was, I wasn't gonna lie, that was pretty villainous in itself. So, but yeah, really cool scene to see.
You have to say that the scene does like it's very not emotionally impactful, but like very impactful for like setting up like the Shredder and stuff like that. But getting back to the Shredder, like there is a lot more to the Shredder than meets the eye, and with him not having like these scars and stuff. I mean, he doesn't have the exact same backstory as the one in 2012. There is so much different, such as like the biggest one is the fact that in this version, it's not a man that was transformed into a rat. It was a rat that was transformed into a mutant rat. So
Hmm.
like there's like even though it's like quite a small change, when you look at like all the things which it does have like an effect on, there's like so many things which it does affect. So I do like the big like contrast between like the two shows, and like even with like Shredder, you can definitely tell for like yeah, like this is this version, and that is that version. Um, but yeah, what do you think about this episode overall?
Overall, this episode was all right. I know it was the first episode, and things could be improved upon, but I'm hoping that this episode will be the ground point or the bridge off point to see a good series to come, and I can't wait to see the rest.
Okay, well, I do think that your opinions will definitely change over time. Do you want to hear
Hmm.
some comments?
Let's hear them.
Okay, from Manny Honorava, I'm sorry if I said that name wrong. They put this episode was really and still is fantastic. Yeah. Baby Mellows, they say it was good. It showed they're inexperienced. Yeah. um,
Mhm.
mate,
Definitely.
mate J, they put the only episode I believe where Donnie is shadowed. Oh, okay. The shadowed headband is pure black. So this was an interesting thing. Is that all Ninja Turtles, if you look at their bandanas, they have shading where like you got normal color and then you got the shaded version of it where it's a bit darker. But for Donnie, they decided to shade his one completely black for this episode and for the intro. Going forward after this, they do correct it and make it a darker purple, not completely black. However, the intro is like that for the rest of the show. So yeah. Um,
Huh. I didn't realise that.
yeah, I mean, a lot of people didn't notice until this one YouTuber called Jay's Reviews. They did a review on the whole show and they pointed it out, and now everyone thinks it's like a really big thing. It is like a big thing because no one noticed it, but it
Yeah.
goes to show just how many like small mistakes there are. I mean, like, did you notice Leonardo's belt like going off him?
No. When was that?
It happens throughout the episode. Oh, it happens so many times throughout the show. There's like so many like little small mistakes that yeah. I mean, there's one in a few episodes time where I mean this waterfall gets destroyed, but next scene it's back again. So yeah.
Hmm.
We've got for kind
Oh.
cool. They put I like it a lot. Um, on Reddit we got Fuzkrin. I'm pretty sure I said it wrong. They put also found it funny how they forgot to remove the shading on Donnie's mask for the first episode. Again, yay. On a more
Mhm.
serious note, the episode is great. It sets up the Pearl Dragons, the Shredder and the Foot, and the new lair, which is by far my favorite in tmnt media. Very well. I think fight scenes and animations aren't all impressive, but it's understandable since the show was starting and they get much better later on. And yeah, they do get like the whole show does get so much better after episode 9. Um,
Hmm.
CJ Madafaka, yeah, I said it wrong. Sorry. They put excluding some minor animation errors like the lighting on Don's bandana, Leo's strap disappearing. The episode is pretty straightforward. Maybe there's a bit too much action. First Mousers and Pearl Dragons and the Foot for the first episode. It almost feels like Star Wars aligned to bring to this series of events. But hey, it's still pretty freaking cool, so I don't complain that much. Also, I think the comic started the same way. The characters are pretty well shown. Leo giving instructions and being wise both out and during the fights. Don showing off his mechanical skills with the lock and toe cell. Michelangelo being, well, goofball. Raphael just being overly aggressive. It's a very good for the first episode. It does its good job in grabbing the viewer's attention, sacrificing some of the possibly written lines for more intense action. And yeah, there was one person
Hmm.
on Reddit which really annoyed me. So I put up the post, and I gave up my opinions on it, and the title of the thread saying things change discussion, and they replied back with, "Well, for us who don't eat and sleep TMNT, can you please name the episode it's from?" And I want you to keep in mind that this is the only episode and story that's called Things Change. So I do think it does go to show, um, like the fan base for 2012 and 2003. Surprisingly, there is a lot more comments for the 2003 episode, or for this episode so far. But that comment alone just goes to show you that, like, I don't know, like the love for that show compared to this one, there's like a big change and stuff like that. So yeah. Um, on Facebook, we got Elizabeth Tracy. They say, "Love that episode. It's a very nostalgic episode for me since to watch it at the since to watch this one and second episode on my GBA. Um, Ignoratus Cos. I'm really sorry if I said that name wrong. They put love that episode. Lisa Danielle Holliam. Sorry, I said the name wrong. They put. Ooh, god, that's a quite a big chunk of paragraph. Great. Um, I think he does a good job of introducing the basic premise of the show in broad strokes that can be and were expanded upon later. In 2003, I'm pretty sure that even kids who not even been exposed to TMNT with the 80s or 90s Next Mutation were aware of the general idea behind the series. I think, but I don't remember for sure, that the 80s show followed April's and the audience were initially introduced to the Turtles via her point of view. And things change, we get the Turtles instead because we're already familiar with the idea. Let's start off with the basic family dynamic and personality traits: mentor, leader, hothead, brains, joker. So you can quickly get the handle on things, and then it can be fleshed out later. But there's a lot of small moments that pay off later in the series. One of the best parts of the first four series that later pays off. I love a lot about the episode. I'm very fond of is how the Turtles are breaking the rules, but going above the ground, and that's only because they had no choice, and how it keeps going from bad to worse to ninjas. The Foot are generally a threat, a very nice change in the early series. I think they might be my favourite part. I like a threat that feels like a threat rather than a slight obstacle. First time I saw this episode, I was very hyped to watch the next episode. It was so successful for me. What would you say about it was like very successful in uh like I don't know, like getting you hyped for the next episode?
Um, I'm not too sure to be honest. I enjoyed this episode, but I really don't know what's gonna happen in this series alone. Like it's like off the bat, it's a very different genre. It's the same genre, sorry, I meant, but it's a very different style and approach to this whole series. But to be honest, I'm interested to see what's going to happen. Like I know this is just the first episode, but they've introduced so much in this one episode. I don't know how they're gonna set off the next episode. You know, I'm a bit what's the word? Curious and hesitant for how the next episode's gonna play out. But hopefully it'll be good.
Okay. Got last one by Pelo Tibble. They put does a good job that's in part of the issue one. Okay, so do you want to hear some trivia now?
All right.
Oh god. Just looking at it now,
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
there's a lot. So this episode can be featured on the Game Boy Advance video. This is the first appearance of the Turtles on TV after the Next Mutation, which was that live action one with the female turtle. This episode introduces the episode. No, the introduction to the episode begins with a voice over by Leonardo, where the Turtles are cornered in an alley by Pearl Dragons. This sequence is identical to the opening of the very first TMNT comic book that like started it all. Um, the original, like the first layer in the episode, is very familiar or similar to the one in the comic books. This marks the first appearance of the Mousers, Pearl Dragons, and Shredder in this universe. This one would be quite interesting for you. Um, okay, so the two cops in this episode are modelled after Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, who are the creators of TMNT. Um,
Yeah.
This is the first episode where Mikey attempts to say cowabunga. Um, yeah. Despite actually describing Toes correctly, the Pearl Dragon leader calls him frogs when pleading to Mercy for his boss. Um,
Hmm,
when after near the end of the show, they did like a top 10 thing where people could vote in their episodes or their favorite episodes. Somehow, this made number two, and I don't think
really?
yeah, I don't think it was ranked accurately, because there was from I'm not be able to find the full list. Is out there, but you had to scroll through each episode to find it. Um, and there were some episodes which were on there which is just like, huh, really that episode, huh.
Hmm.
So I do think it was maybe not that accurate. Um, and then this episode has the same title as the Teen Titans episode. Like the series finale of of that series was called Things Change, and there's like some similarities throughout that show and this show. But yeah, but also this show, the co-creator Ken P. Laird, he at the time he was the person in charge of TMNT, and he is basically the reason why this show is just so good, as he was involved in the show, coming up with the characters, the stories, and even got to the point where like he was because he made a blog about this and he showed off the emails about the things which he changed in the episodes, and you can see just how much of a big impact he had on the show. One example from one episode where there's gonna have this scene where I think it's gonna take place over like three different scenes where two characters just walk in, and Peter just decided to scrap that little bit, and the episode which we're talking about became the best episode from the show. Um, and then there's like another one where he changed a bit where Leo was going to stab a character or talk about stabbing a character, saying he's going to run through. And Peter translated it saying for basically that means he's going to stab him. So they changed it. So Peter had a big involvement in the show, and to the point where he even like cast the characters. Um, and when you hear like some like the other stuff which do happen in like later episodes in terms of it's amazing how much of involvement he had in the show. But yeah, do you want to hear the cast?
Let's hear it.
Okay, so there's gonna be a lot of characters or a lot of actors which I feel like you're gonna be like who, but when we do properly look into them, you can be like, oh my god, I can't believe they did that character. Um, compared to like the last cast, which is like, oh my god, I can't believe it's them. Um, okay, so in this version, we got Leonardo voiced by Michael Sintelus. Um, I'm never going to be able to pronounce his name right. Donatello, voiced by Regal. Raphael, voiced by Greg Abbey. Yeah. Michelangelo, voiced by Wayne Grayson. Splinter, voiced by Darren Dunstan. The main Pearl Dragon leader, voiced by I think it's Eric Stewart. I'm pretty sure it was. Scotty, no, the Shredder, voiced by Scotty Ray. And yeah, okay. So with this version, I want to start off with the person who did the voice of the Pearl Dragon leader, because he doesn't actually come back too often. So yeah, he was voiced by Eric Stewart. Uh, and okay, so he was born on 18th of October 1967. Um, he's an American voice actor. And and he's also leads his own band. And he was in quite a lot of stuff. If I remember correctly, he was in his own. He's in Pokemon. Uh, do you know? Oh, I actually got his IMDb up here. Um, okay. His most notable roles. Do you know a character called Brock from uh Pokemon?
Oh my god, no way.
Mm-hmm. He did a voice of him.
Oh, yes. Actually, yeah. Oh my God, Eric Stewart. Yeah, he plays as Brock in the Pokemon
Mm-hmm.
series. How could I forget about him?
Yep. The other notable role is he was in Yu-Gi-Oh, where he played Scorch, Jinlong, and Seto. I'm pretty sure I said the name wrong. Oh well. But yeah, like his most notable role is Brock. Uh, yeah,
Yeah, Brock. I can actually hear it now. I can hear it.
yeah. I mean, that's what I mean with like this. This cast is not one of those ones which is like, oh my god, I can't believe it's that person. It's more of, oh my god, I can't believe I did that voice. Um, And this might be a good time to say, but this was on the Fox box or for kids. So and at the time, this was Martin. They were really big for censoring, because they did like because they dubbed all the anime, such as like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and stuff like that, and they were um you might see online like some of the things which they censored. They censored like a gun for these two cops with like using their hands as guns. They did like a lot of censoring stuff, but then you got stuff in this show that really makes you question stuff which does I get away with because this is one of the or I think this is their big their big show which was their show to air on their site or channel exclusively first before going on to other countries and TV stations. And when you look at stuff which shows how to do and censored stuff in the anime, it's just like how why um but yeah. Okay, so the next episode is is called Better Mousetrap. What do you think is going to happen in that episode?
Um. Well, I think there's going to be a trap for sure in this episode. In next episode, sorry. There's going to be a trap that the turtles probably go in, or potentially because it's a mouse trap, maybe Master Splinter gets trapped and the turtles have to go rescue him. That's what I'm coming off across as.
Okay, interesting. With where you was thinking the episode would go, I guess you'll find out next
hmm
week. But yeah, like
Ah,
overall, how do you like? Would you say that this episode is like a better introduction for turtles, or like would you say I don't know, like what I'm trying to say is like comparing like the two shows. Like, which one do you lean more towards so far? You lean more towards 2012 because you've seen more of that, or what?
ye- to be honest, I know this is just the first episode and we're going to get into further episodes into the future, but at the moment, I'm sticking to my roots and I'm preferring the 2012 version at the moment. Just because this is new territory and I haven't seen much of the show. But yeah, I'm hoping to come to like to this series as well. Like from last series, that was the first time ever doing turtles ever. But I'm just sticking to the roots for now. Something that I can rely on, which is good. But I'm hoping to open up to this series once we get further into it. So I'm just waiting to see where it goes.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say about this episode?
No, I've got nothing. All I can say is it's a really good episode. Really cool to see the different art styles and the new series being involved by different producers, and it's just a really cool and different and unique style to how other TV shows use the genre, and it's really cool to see.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll just say that uh, for me, I enjoy coming back to the show, and I do feel as though as we're going to be going forward and talking about it, it's going to be really interesting to hear your opinions on stuff which I don't have an opinion about, not because I don't like or anything, but because I've seen it too much. So I do think it's going to be that bit more interesting. And this was like I said before, this was the one which I want the show which I want to talk about. Um, so I'm glad we should finally be able to do it. But yeah, I'm so glad we're doing it now. And I do feel as though if we were to do this, if we were to do this one originally, then I don't think we would. One, don't think we have the confidence like what we're doing now, but also like it would just because with the 2012 one, we've been able to work on more comedic side of talking about it. And I feel as though if we was to just go straight into this one, we would not been able to find any type of type of thing to just because I know with the Splinter stuff we've sort of laughed about that, but I don't think other than that there wasn't really much to talk about. Hopefully you understand what I mean by that.
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
Uh, but yeah, this has been another episode of Talking Turtles. If you do want to get your opinions on it, you can leave them in the comment section below, either on Anchor with the text or comment or video one. You can leave comments on the community post, the YouTube video version of this, the Reddit page, Facebook posts. I think that's everywhere. But yeah. This has been another episode of Talking Tales. I've been your host Teddy,
I've been Hayden.
and we'll catch you all next time. Goodbye, yo. Bye.
Bye.